I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. The chair notes as a quorum present, and we'll do the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll go into 2.0, which is additions and revisions to the agenda. Under unfinished business, I just want to give you guys a heads up about the City of Lone Rock's COVID relief funds. Just a quick update on those. Any other additions or revisions? So I'll put that under 6.2. Let's go into correspondence and public comment. Individuals wishing to address the county court may do so at this time and at other times throughout the meeting. Speakers are asked to raise your hand to be recognized by the chair. Give your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. I don't think we have any. Let's see if we have any online. It looks like we have all Gilliam County folks online. So I'm guessing we don't have any public comments at this point, but if anybody wants to break in as we move through the agenda, feel free to interrupt as we go. And I don't have any correspondence, so we'll go right into the public hearing for fiscal year 2020-2021 supplemental budget. This is the time duly set and advertised for a public hearing in the matter of the supplemental budget for Gilliam County fiscal year 2020-2021 budget. This hearing is for the purpose of receiving public comment and responding to questions regarding resolution number R 2021-07, adopting a supplemental budget and making appropriations for the fiscal year 2020-2021. This is the legislative hearing. All those in attendance that wish to testify are asked to sign the attendance sheet. The hearing is now open, and we'll start off with a report from the treasurer.
All right. My report really just comes, we need to true up the budget. The appropriations is what was actually spent this year, this fiscal year. So this is our last day to do that. It's the end of the fiscal year. Okay. Our new budget. And just in summary, I don't know if I can go through the resolution real quick. We can talk about all the changes.
That would be great.
Okay. So the first change is just community counseling solutions. This happens every couple of years. They give us the value of the amount we're supposed to turn over them every year, and that's what we use to budget. But there's always a timing issue because money comes from state or we don't turn it over in the right time period or something. So we just had this is just an adjustment. It's not really anything, and it's coming out of current year taxes, which is at 101,100. And it's just our estimated tax amount. We have to have some way to balance it. It's not actually taxes. It really comes from the state, but that's the easiest way to balance it. And it was budgeted short anyway. So that's the first one. The next one is PERS unfunded actuarial liability account. So you probably remember we created a side account to pay our PERS unfunded actuarial liability. And we had originally budgeted using a number which was calculated in December, on December 31st, 2019. Middleman Company is the one that calculated that for us. And what happened is, well, last year, so the number, the amount that by the time we got the money put in there, that value had changed quite a bit. And it is a side account, so it's not really a loss. It's just the estimate changed. So we put more in there than we thought we were going to have to. So this is just to bank that back in line to get 101,190 or 101,199 balance.
Back out of the, how do you say?
No, we're not. It's going to stay in the side account. It's just the original estimate was about $3.8 million, and we budgeted about $4 million,
Right.
and then it ended up being 4.285. So this is just to get us back in line because we're over our appropriation. That the money, that side account's kind of interesting because basically we've just created an account, and then every year they go in there and they take a portion out to pay that unfunded actuarial liability for our PERS. So they made an estimate out, I think it was 22 years if I remember correctly. So we may get money back at the end, or it may be depleted before then, depending on how that side account investment goes versus.
Definitely made a big impact though on
Huge.
this
Yeah.
coming tomorrow's.
Yeah, there's about $300,000 less
Right.
due to PERS this year
Right.
than previously because, you know, the interest on that
Yeah.
money. So I think it was a great investment. I mean, it would have been great to get originally the state to kind of put this little carrot out there. We could get some matching funds that I don't know how the people got them did, but they sure did. I mean, we had to complete it as fast as we possibly could. Ellen and I did. I mean, it was done 20 minutes after it opened and we were like 17th in line. So that's where we are. Is there any other questions about that one? All right, moving on. Road department, there's a little more equipment spent on equipment than I thought they would, but they had a lot more equipment rentals this past year. You can say $140,000. He budgeted like $5,000 or something. So I think it just, you know, it's kind of a trade on that one, I think. Next one's general roads. So these next two, last year's budget, we put all the road together in one. So it'd be 200, 203 would be the new number, and the former one was 203, 100. So we'd estimated a beginning fund balance, which is what Dewey thought he was going to spend, and he didn't spend as much as he thought he was going to. So the next two, the general road, it says former, and then the special projects, both of those were just, the transfers were a little bit more than we thought they were going to be. Beginning fund balance is more than we'd estimated. And then the last one, back to, you know, it's always COVID. So the last one's just a COVID. We had federal money come in that we weren't anticipating, and then it was expended. So that's the 520,000. Yeah, business relief dollars. So I think it's all pretty straightforward. If you got any questions or anybody else does. I mean, every year we have a few adjustments. This is more than I'd like to see, but there's a couple in there that wouldn't happen normally.
You got a $520,000 COVID adjustment, it's gonna be a little more problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we usually every year we have a few, I'd say we have, you know, 3 to 5 adjustments every year, which is pretty good overall. We tend to budget not real aggressively in some line items. We have real big unappropriated anyway. But it makes things easier because it just throughout the year, you don't have as many adjustments going on to true things back up to reality. So.
Seems to me that for the most part, though, I mean, some of these are just kind of technical. We guessed wrong on the fund balances.
And if you really go look through the budget overall, that happens quite a bit. But it's just those, since the transfers were out, there's only one line item coming out. There's only one line item in. You have to be just spot on or you're outside of reality.
Got it. Questions for Nathan? Okay, do we have anybody wishing to provide testimony? Don't see any, so I will go ahead and close the hearing. The hearing is hereby closed. And do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
Move to approve resolution R 2021-07. Resolution adopting a supplemental budget and making appropriations for fiscal year 2020 through 2021.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve resolution number R 2021-07, a resolution adopting a supplemental budget and making appropriations for fiscal year 2020 through 2021. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
Got it done by the skin of our teeth.
Well, that's perfect timing. All right, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, let's move on to 5.0, which is the consent agenda. Questions on it?
I don't have any.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda, which consists of consider approval of June 16th, 2021 regular meeting minutes and consider appointment of Commissioner Shannon to the Community Renewable Energy Association Board effective July 1, 2021. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Got allergies, Sherry?
I've got an allergy problem this morning.
Oh,
You can
no.
tell. I've been making her cry.
I was gonna say, have you
like-
been mean to her?
It's like a crying.
It's an emotional budget.
That
It
was
really
very emotional.
Hits you in the heart. Yep.
Right? All that money, no doubt.
Okay, let's go into 6.1, which is consider approval of resolution number R 2021-08, declaring real property as surplus and authorizing the sale of the property. So this is to follow up actually almost exactly a year ago. The county court approved funding for a land survey for the property boundaries between the fairgrounds and the historical society property. And partly this was because the historical society was putting a new building on, wasn't sure if their property lines, and the city of Condon was not going to sign off the planning documents without knowing exactly where the boundaries were. And so we agreed that it would be beneficial to the county to know where our line is anyway, and so we went ahead and paid for the survey. The other thing that came up as part of that discussion was whether there's a portion that is technically Gilliam County property that has been leased for zero money to Gilliam County Historical Society for, I think, 3 decades or something. I mean, it's been a long time. And so the Historical Society had approached us about, once we kind of know where those lines are, would we be interested in conveying the property that they've been leasing for no money over to them. And so they had circled back with me and asked if we could do that. And I checked in with our legal counsel, who this particular attorney on this one was Dan Lawler, said, yes, we can absolutely do it if we want to do it. And so he's put together a resolution basically authorizing the sale, which would be for a nominal amount. So I just put in there $1 as the amount. And yeah, you'll see in there the actual survey, the completed survey, and what we're talking about. Just that little, really it's that little piece of land that carves around the track, the racetrack.
Right there.
Yeah, that little PLA tract of land kind of.
Do they have anything on that as far as buildings?
I think, I would guess that it might be like the cabin that sits right there in the corner might technically be on the, I forget which, and maybe like the,
Is this whole thing their property here? Down here?
below, yeah. Yes.
Probably said that, I can't see it.
Yes. So what we're talking about deeding over is the PLA tract portion, sort of the northern part of that. Yeah. And so if we approve the resolution, then the resolution authorizes me to finalize the deed and get it filed and all that kind of stuff. Questions, concerns? You guys okay with that?
So I move to approve resolution number R 2021-08 as presented.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve resolution number R 2021-08 as presented. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Nice.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, for 6.2, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that, as you know, the county and each of the cities got COVID relief dollars, including Lone Rock. Lone Rock has decided that it,
Which COVID relief dollars?
are they CARES Act fund? Do you remember?
I would think going on the timelines, the
In the
Judge Ross
original,
might share with you that it is the CARES Act.
from the original last spring CARES Act money, the first we got.
I think so.
Because they'll need to have it enough to spend.
So Lone Rock decided that it doesn't want its funds. And so what the state does then is turn them over to the county to spend instead. And so they need us to sign a new amendment to our agreement. And so I just wanted to get your okay, that it's okay for me to sign that and accept the money.
No, we don't.
And then, because it literally has, they contacted us yesterday
Yesterday
afternoon or morning and got us the contract late in the afternoon, and it has to be signed today.
Oh, okay, let's do it.
So, and then it would have to be spent by July 31st. So we've got a month to spend it, basically.
Do we have ideas for that?
It's about 25,000, and I don't know if we have anything.
I only have one
Pending.
invoice that's pending because I ran out of our own county CRF
Do you
funding.
have any ideas?
So, no, not at this point.
You have some ideas, let us know.
What are our
Ideas.
boundaries? What are our
Same as
boundaries?
before, it has to be a COVID-related expense that we otherwise wouldn't have incurred except for the pandemic.
Well, we have another meeting next week. I would
Yeah,
say we think about it and come back with ideas next week.
Yeah.
Okay,
we have 2 meetings before we have to spend it.
Right.
So we have time to,
But you're gonna have time.
Give
to
me enough
spend
time to spend it.
well, it
Yeah.
wouldn't take me long.
we have done some things. So for instance, and we may need to check in with like Sabrina about this, but like we've used COVID relief dollars to cover the additional costs that like the senior meal site takes on to do to-go containers and things like
Right.
that. So we probably can find some small expendenders, but I don't think there's
Not
enough for
25,000.
25,000.
We've
So
also used
Spread the
some
wealth
of
a little bit.
our own to replace equipment in the kitchens because we've been doing so much more cooking, cleaning, etc., freezer space, you name it,
That's a good thing.
than we usually would. So, and it's commercial grade, so it's a little pricier than your residential stuff. So
Over a lot.
I could also ask her if there's anything sort of on its last legs burning out that we might want
That's
to
a good
consider
idea.
as well.
okay,
That's like a plan to put together.
so
Meal site.
as long as you guys are okay with us taking those funds, I
Because
just
that kind of
wanted
benefits Load Rock too, is I'm sure some of them take advantage of the climate meal site patient.
I'm sure probably they do. Okay, well, I just didn't want to get sideways and take money you didn't want me to take. So.
Yeah, right. Get to Brian.
Okay, let's move on to 7.1, which is discussion and possible action on track rental lease with Omega Morgan. Sherry.
Oh, that's me. You'll have to excuse me, I am on drugs. So if I lose my train of thought, carry on down. Eric Sander from Omega Morgan contacted me about their track usage because Union Pacific was needing to do some storage of cars. So they contacted Omega Morgan because Omega Morgan had a contract with the county, and so we realized that. And this, Eric didn't realize this either, that the contract actually expired December 31st of 2019. So one of the things, how do we put these leases and contracts on our radar so that we aren't running into this where they're expiring and we don't realize what's happening when we know that they're gonna, this use is gonna be kind of an ongoing thing off and on. I mean, it's not all the time, but as these projects come up, if every time it comes up again, we have to do another, right, exactly. So,
we're working, Teresa and I and others in the building are working on an ORMS, Oregon Records Management System project. When we get that implemented, and we've done a kickoff meeting and starting like phase 1, if you like, there is ability within the application to set those reminder flags.
great.
So that you could set it, say, 6 months, 3 months,
Right.
depending on the complexity of the contract, to pop up a reminder so that you can use that to tell you, we need to start renegotiation of this contract if it still needs to be.
So you would
reviewed.
handle that administratively through you two.
Right.
They
would
would
let
your
us know
attention
what's
that a
going on.
contract was expiring and whether you still had interest to renegotiate that contract or allow it to expire and then it's voided now.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. So we're in the process of that implementation of that program.
The early start process,
Early start.
yeah, doing the first phase, so that's really the steep learning curve as
Yeah.
we figure out software.
Because then you
and
have to
how
get
we
it all-
Figure it.
Yeah, this is the digitization of all of our
Yeah,
documents.
which is, will be great, because then all you have to do is go in there and say, I need this, instead of flying
You don't-
through all these manila folders.
Yes, you would,
It's ridiculous.
Ellen's office would still have a lot of the
Right,
originals,
the signed
obviously, but staff would be able to look for documents from their own desks, basically,
that
not pop
Would
through.
also say where to find it in the file, so you aren't saying, I'm not sure where we filed that because it had two types of interest in.
Yeah, it would allow employees to have more of a self-service approach rather than Helen don't having to.
I want to help put the data in. Anyway,
We'll take volunteers on the
I would love
project.
to help put the data in. So what, I had a conversation with Eric Zander, and in the interest of the fact that there's these ongoing projects, we didn't want to stop things. So I verbally, and with a conversation with Lisa, we did agree that they would go ahead and work off the old contract until we could get it in. And I have a call with Jeremy tomorrow morning. No, next, my calendar isn't very good in here. Next Thursday afternoon at 3, July the 8th, we're going to talk about putting together a new contract. So,
Great.
I guess what I really needed from the court was
This extension.
an extension. We need to have an extension.
So I would move to extend the Omega Morgan track usage and storage agreement executed December 5th, 2018 to December 30th, 2021.
Second.
Sounds good.
It's been moved and seconded that we extend the Omega Morgan track usage and storage agreement executed December 5th, 2018 to December 30th, 2021. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Pat did.
You did say that December 30th, and this is December 31st.
Do you care, Sherry?
Is there December 31st?
Yes.
It always is. And I understand your clock in your head, because you called me when I was in Boise about the meeting, to be clear.
Yeah, I know. I have a problem. And I have 3 calendars.
I
I
think
have 3 physical
my
calendars.
guess is the 30th is probably fine because you'll probably have a new agreement for us to
I'm
approve prior to
hoping
that,
so.
right? It's
I
not
hope
gonna
so.
take 6 months.
We're gonna start
get it.
working on it next week. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
Okay.
And
so-
I don't anticipate a lot of changes in what it was before, so, and what we're gonna be working from now. It's just a matter of getting the dates and deciding, how long Eric thinks we want to go before we reach.
Sounds good. You've been working hard with
Oh,
Omega
my
Morgan,
gosh,
Sherry.
yeah, he's great, Eric's great to work with.
So let's go into announcements and next meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled, this is a special meeting for those who are wondering why we're meeting the fourth
What we're doing
Wednesday.
here.
So we will be back on our regular schedule on July 7th, so the first Wednesday. And that will be here in Condon. Announcements. What do you got going on, Sherry?
Gee, I don't know, let me look at my calendar.
Should we start with Pat? While you regroup?
I think all these eye drops are making my eyes fuzzy too. I don't know. Apparently I don't have anything going on. We're not, oh, I know what
We're kind of in an off.
yes. Well, Northport doesn't meet in July, so we won't have a meeting, but in the next couple of meetings, I do need to bring to the court the proposed changes that Northport's doing in the structure of how the board is set up and the administration of the facility. As you may know, they worked with an administrator since conception, and we've been through several administrators, and after the last one, they decided that function wasn't working that well. So what we've been working from since I got on the board is, I think since fall of 2018, is a managerial team which consists of the sheriff in charge of the adult side, the commander, the juvenile director, and the juvenile facility manager, and the finance director. Team of 5. And so they work together to administer everything that's been done. And the only problem we have with that is HR, you know, there's different. So there's a whole concept that we're putting together to bring in a business manager, as opposed to an administrator who oversees everybody, but a business manager who oversees those financial and maintenance and HR and all of that, that then would work with the sheriffs and the sheriffs would have a committee that would oversee the adult side, and the juvenile directors from each county would oversee the juvenile side, and then they would all work together.
So no administrator.
So no administrator to oversee everybody, but more in this team concept that we've been working from, which has been working fabulous. It's financially, you know, it's in a better place. It's more, what I want. Yeah, it's just been working really well. They work well together.
Does somebody ever use that to do?
Yes. Bob Bitton, the river commissioner, is the chairman of the board, and he's been very, very active in what's been happening. And that team has worked really well with the coalition as well, which has been, you know, a problem. So I'll be bringing that so you can see what the proposal would be. We want to go back to the sheriff has a voting position on the board of directors, which we, as the commissioners on the board now, feel is a conflict because it gives one county 2 votes. And the juvenile director sits on the board, but doesn't get a vote. So we want
Gilliam
to,
County has 2 votes.
no, Brad Lowry is the
Oh.
sheriff in charge. So well, actually, they have a representative, and that is Wasco County Sheriff Lane. So we want to put it back to just the commissioners, and then those 2 boards would then work with the board. Anyway, it's going to be interesting as we work through the changes that one. I think it's going to be good for where we're at right now. First, the sheriffs all work really well together. Juvenile directors work really well together. It's been a good collaboration. So there's that we'll need to talk about.
It's a big thing.
It is a big thing. It is a big thing, and a lot of time has gone into it. We hired a consultant to through the state to discuss with the board of directors and the staff and the sheriffs and the juvenile directors, what do you see the model looking like? And really what came out of that was everybody thought a business manager was the best move rather than an administrator. So that the sheriff and the juvenile director aren't trying to, you know, worry about the financials, which is something that really, you know, could have some input into, but shouldn't have to be their primary focus.
Yeah, responsible.
That and HR and all those other things that go into that business managers. But anyway, I have that, and I'll bring that to the next meeting so we can kind of look at it. You guys can see what's going on.
Sounds good.
And that's about it. That's the big thing.
That's a great thing. Pat, what do you got going on?
It's interesting when you talk about loading the board. I'm thinking about North Central. We have all the commissioners on there. And then Gilliam County has 2 other members. Board. I don't know that Sherman County does, and I'm not sure what.
Yeah, see, which loads Gilliam County, yeah,
Which I
same
don't-
way.
But it doesn't really load it, we can't seem to get 2 to show up. all the time. And speaking of them, I was in an executive session 21st over the search for an executive director. Well, basically, I've had many apps, well, actually, only one. And the interesting thing was Shelley did not apply, and that's a concern, and so she didn't want to go through the process, I guess, because the process has worked before.
Yeah, I think
So they're
that,
kind of,
that was an issue.
everywhere, and anyway, working on that. And we're committing that to ensure it's a bit last Wednesday. Oh, have you guys been following the Democracy River Act at all? Have you got any emails? I don't know that you're on them.
I've seen the
I've seen the
emails, but I haven't.
emails.
But just
Don't
been a
mention
bunch of
that at all.
county interest and stuff, basically in opposition. I did do that as a connection. Yeah, that's been going on. There's quite a few counties involved. This Untitled County threw in yesterday. So it's kind of,
Mm.
and not other than, I guess I did kind of, the COVID dollars, just in question, we, from the Recovery Act, but how much do we get? The reason I'm asking is because Boston County, Kathy talked about the other day, what they're doing with theirs, there's like 1.5, ours was 400.
Well, which round? The latest
The
round?
latest.
We haven't, I don't think we've received them yet.
Received half of it,
Yeah.
189,000 it was.
189.
There's a list published, I've seen it, some of the counties get large amounts of money. We're definitely above.
So that would make us what?
Well,
It must be based on population.
I'm guessing, yeah, because I
70
think
or-
Wheeler County was below us.
Three.
I mean,
Yeah,
I think so.
but we don't receive very much.
And have we decided what we're doing?
Nope, it's budgeted. Where did we put it?
I thought it was in business development, 327, but there's restrictions on what you can spend it on. I don't remember all, one that, Pat and I talked about at some point in time was rural fiber was one of the things listed, so. Got Fiber Council and put $3 million potential grant there, but I think we use some of those funds for that. It does need to be reported on, I think in August, and then we've got a small amount, I think it's yearly. What we spend it on.
And we've got a ways to spend it, if I remember right. And we have like 2 years or something to spend it.
It's, I can't remember off the top of my head the exact window, but it's a significant amount
Couple
of time.
So no, we haven't decided. I think we've just been holding it.
Might be a little discussion about that in executive session.
Anything else? For me, we had a Frontier Telenet board meeting last week, approved the budget. Tomorrow we will be meeting with potential management candidates. We had 4 people submit proposals to manage Frontier Telenet. So 3 of them will be meeting with the board tomorrow in executive session, so they can be interviewed. And then I don't know whether the other judges will want to move forward with making the hire tomorrow or whether they'll want to think on it. The 911 board is meeting on the 13th of July, and so that will be the next Frontier Telenet meeting as well. So there'll either be a decision tomorrow, which I'll report on next week, or they may wait until the 13th during the next meeting to make a decision. I think other than that, that was the most significant one, but let me just double check the calendar.
That's really all that's going on tomorrow's executive session.
I wanted to do the Ferguson Economic Summit thing, but Thursday they have those tours, but I have an R4. So, that's on the 19th of August. But, I need to go to the R4.
The only other thing to update you on is if you're getting asked, I don't know if you've gotten asked yet about the vaccine incentives, but supposedly they're being drawn this week sometime, if they've not already been drawn.
They're drawn on the 28th.
I think so, yeah.
If you get questions, here's how it worked. OHA had the list of everybody who's been vaccinated in the state. Everyone was assigned a random number. Those numbers were given to lottery. So lottery didn't actually get names, they got numbers.
Oh.
They drew the numbers, or will be drawing the numbers, one or the other. Then they're sending the numbers back to OHA. OHA is then rematching them up to get the names, and then they should be contacting us with the list of names to follow up with the winners.
That's a
So-
good way to do it for privacy.
Yes, so if you get questions on what's going on and why is the delay, I'm
why.
assuming that that's the delay, is getting the information back to OHA, OHA triple checking that they got the right
Didn't
person.
that original email say that we're gonna draw on the 16th and the 28th?
I think so, but I have not heard anything from the 16th, and the 28th was the one that
I don't
was the
Well,
agreement
did
that,
anything
Yeah,
on
we
the
wanted it on the
16th.
28th anyway.
yeah. But I have not heard from lottery or OHA yet on names. So if we have somebody in the agreement that I signed with lottery, if they have somebody who declines, lottery will redraw for us.
Oh, okay.
So if you get questions on somebody, I don't know why anybody would turn down $2,000. Somebody decides they don't want it. We do have a backup plan for how to get, we'll just keep drawing until we find somebody. So anyway, stay tuned. Winners should be,
Yeah, Brian was
know,
watching
here in
the
the next week or
news
so,
that they
I'm
had
guessing.
drawn on the 28th, and he had phone prefix numbers to make sure that you didn't ignore a call from.
Did
And
you,
of course, it was 503 and a 7.
did you tell him he already got 4,000 in the last couple of months? He's had enough.
No, I did not tell him that. I didn't get the whole 4,000.
Okay, anything else
That's
on,
big tax.
anything else on announcements other than Brian's scheming to make sure he doesn't miss lottery's call? If not, we are scheduled for an executive session to start at 11, which is about 22 minutes. And so I'm going to go ahead and just put us into recess. For folks who are, well, it's all Gilliam County folks, but I'll just say on the record here that we don't have any other regular business scheduled. So we will go into executive session. We'll come out into regular session, but only to adjourn. So if you feel like just cutting off and having the rest of your morning back, please do, because we are not planning on taking up any additional business today. And with that, I will go ahead and recess until 11. We'll come back for the executive session. So we are back from recess. It's 11:04. And we'll go ahead and go into an executive session in accordance with ORS 192.6602D to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations. The Gilliam County Court will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602D, which allows the court to meet in executive session to consider information to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations. Representatives of the news media and designated staff will be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to vacate the courtroom. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about the subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to the audience in the public virtual meeting room. And as I have done previously, I need to declare a conflict, which is that my dad is one of the union members subject to the contract negotiations. And so I will be just here to open and close the meeting. I will be abstaining from the discussion. I will state the same conflict in executive session as well. And then just as a heads up as well, I mentioned this earlier, but I will reiterate that the county court has concluded its business for the day. So we will go into executive session, come back out, but only to adjourn the meeting. So no additional decisions will be made today. And so with that, we will exit the general session. So we are back into regular session. It's 12:03, and I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting.